It has been a heavy week in the YouTube world this week. A lot of very troubling things have happened, and if you don't know what specifically I'm talking about, I'll leave a link in the description. I don't want to really go into gratuitous detail right here because enough people have said pretty much everything I want to say about it, and there's a lot of videos on the subject. There's a common phrase that I hear a lot when we're saturated with a lot of bad news in a short amount of time, and it's something along the lines of I'm losing faith in humanity. In this case, it's I'm losing faith in the YouTube community and YouTube creators. And while I think it is natural to feel betrayed, to feel disgusted, to feel awful about certain things when they happen and when you hear about it a lot and a lot of things come out at once, I don't think that's the way to go. To kind of broaden it out to the greater human experience, I could never lose faith in humanity. I love being a person too much. I think that there is a lot of good that happens, and despite all the bad stuff that exists, I think existing on its own is enough and everything else is icing on the cake. But despite that, humans can do awful things. They can do ridiculously horrible, terrible things. But most humans are not ridiculously horrible people. Most humans are, at their core, decent human beings. I don't want to get into an argument about whether I think humanity is inherently good or evil, because I don't think humanity is inherently anything, to be honest. I think the more important question to ask ourselves is, what do we do with the bad stuff so that we get to still enjoy the good stuff? Because bad stuff happens and you gotta deal with it, you gotta talk about it, you gotta discuss it. And that's one thing that with the YouTube community right now I'm extremely proud of, is the discussion that's happening around this. Discussion over things like fan-creator dynamics, consent, relationships, abuse. I think it's really important that these things get talked about, but it's also important to not extrapolate those issues, those characteristics to all YouTubers, and to stop trusting them, and to stop having faith in them. At the end of the day, most of us don't know our favorite YouTubers personally, and that might be upsetting to some, but it's also the reality of the situation. We don't know our favorite YouTubers personally. How can we know them personally? But that fact alone does not render the interactions between YouTuber and creator meaningless. They do have meaning, they do have a lot of meaning. I get a lot of things out of interacting with the viewers on this channel right here. And while some people have abused that responsibility, that power, and done some incredibly awful things, the majority of people out there on YouTube are not doing terrible things. The majority of people on YouTube are doing absolutely amazing and incredible things, and I could never lose faith in that. And this is true of the whole world as well. We hear about bad news all the time, all over the world, things that are happening that are terrible, but that is only a small portion of each of our individual existences, because when you walk through life, when you have a day, the majority of us, most things that happen to us are not bad, most things that happen to us are good, or they're really nothing at all. Essentially, when we hear about a lot of bad news, the world forgets to be awesome, and we forget that the world is awesome. And even though that's a bit of an internet cliche at this point, I think it really holds a lot of truth, holds a lot of significance, and it holds a lot of importance for me as a person, because bad things happen all the time, but the world is awesome, you know? Even if it's crappy, it's still here, it's a thing, it's a floating rock in space surrounding a ball of gas that's burning, and that's why we're alive. That's insane, that's awesome. And we don't get to control when chaos happens, when bad things happen. The only thing we do get to control is how we react to it and what we do with it. And I think in this case, what we do with it is we talk about it, we address it, we figure out what happened, what went wrong, and we fight to make sure it never happens again. Because all this stuff out here is freaking awesome and beautiful and amazing, and I'm happy that I get to experience it. Part of the payment of that is that I also get to experience bad things as well, but I think it's worth it because I get to just sit out here, look at that sky, out of focus. There's a plane up there, and see how freaking cool that is. As always, I'm Connor Manning. You've just become a little more awesome, and I will see you guys on Monday. I apologize for the wind completely rendering that inaudible. I really just said what I say every video, as always. I'm Connor Manning, whatever, all that. You know the drill. Yeah, it was windy, and I don't have a nice mic that would fix that. This is dangerous. This is like the most dangerous thing I've ever done for YouTube. Ever.